Well, hello there. I see you came back to hear what happens to Andrew and Mark. Hold on, let me get the book. Now, where did I leave off? Oh yes, here it is. Chapter 2. Andrew woke up to the sound of Lily's voice.
Time to wake up, Andrew,
she yelled from the kitchen. Andrew sat up in his bed. He rubbed his eyes before looking at his Sports Illustrated swimsuit calendar. There was a red circle around today's date. Andrew smirked. Today was a special day. Seconds later, he got out of bed and headed for the bathroom. After a nice, warm shower, Andrew headed back to his room to get dressed. Minutes later, he was in the kitchen with Lily. Lily smiled as she handed Andrew his plate of food.
It's just you and me today.
Andrew smiled back as he took the plate. Bay Plaza was sort of a mall, but more like an outlet center. Originally, it was the size of a small baseball stadium with 20 small stores, including an enormous supermarket. Since then, it has developed. They have added big department stores like Sears and Kmart, a popular toy store, Toys R Us, and Barnes and Nobles, one of the larger bookstores. Even popular restaurants like Rib Shack and Silver Spoon have claimed a spot in the now spacious Bay Plaza. At least Lily doesn't have to go to White Plains as much as she did. Andrew and Lily stopped by Sears to buy new work pants for Lily. Andrew watched Lily comb through the women's section, searching for the perfect pair of pants. Being a court clerk meant that you had to look professional. Andrew stood there a bit longer before helping. Afterwards, Andrew and Lily stopped by Barnes and Nobles to see if DC's latest Outsiders comic finally arrived. The place was packed. Even the registers had a long line. Andrew sighed heavily. Lily placed her hand upon Andrew's shoulder.
We can try next time.
Suddenly Andrew heard something. It sounded like crying. It was faint, but Andrew heard crying. He closed his eyes, trying to pinpoint the sound.
Andrew, is something wrong?
Lily asked with a confused look.
Do you hear someone crying?
Andrew answered with a question. Lily tried to listen, but could only hear the various noises from the store. Lily shook her head. Andrew cupped his ears and listened closely. He could hear the crying very clearly. Andrew opened his eyes.
Follow me, Mom,
Andrew said as he pressed through the crowd. Minutes later, Andrew was in the bargain section on the other side of the store. He looked around until he found a little boy crying. Lily brought up the rear. Her eyes widened as she stared at the crying child. Soon, her motherly instincts kicked in. Lily knelt beside the little boy and gave him a warm smile.
It's okay, little one,
she said calmly.
My son and I will help you find your parents.
The little boy stopped crying. He wiped his eyes and quickly clung to Lily. Andrew smirked. Suddenly, his ears picked up another faint sound.
Michael!
It sounded like someone was calling out someone's name.
Michael!
Andrew looked around. Soon, his eyes began to zoom in on various people, even from far away. He couldn't believe it. Andrew continued to scope around the area until he spotted a tall, scrawny man with a frantic look on his face.
Michael!
That must be the dad.
Andrew thought. He faced Lily.
I think I found this kid's dad.
Lily looked puzzled.
Already, but that's...
Trust me, Mom.
Replied Andrew. Lily nodded.
I'll follow your lead.
They went through the crowd once more, heading towards the kids section. Andrew spotted the man who was standing in the center of the section. Andrew quickly ran up to him.
Excuse me, sir,
said Andrew.
Are you looking for your kid?
Yes.
The man exclaimed with a concerned look.
Have you seen him? We were in the magazine section, and I looked away for just a minute and...
Suddenly, Lily and the little boy appeared. Tears ran down the man's face as he ran towards the little boy and hugged him tightly. Even the little boy was overjoyed to be reunited with his father. Andrew smiled. The man held on to the little boy's hand as they approached Andrew.
Thank you for finding my son.
The man said with a warm smile.
How can I repay you?
Andrew shook his head.
There's no need. I'm glad I could help.
Are you sure?
Asked the man. Lily approached the man with a smile.
There's no need.
The man nodded.
Thank you.
Minutes later, the man and the little boy left, holding each other's hand. Lily hugged Andrew.
My hero.
She said kindly.
Mom.
Andrew whined, feeling embarrassed. Lily linked arms with him.
Let me treat my hero to a reward.
Andrew lay on his bed, recalling what happened earlier at Barnes and Noble's. How did he do all of that? Then he pondered about what Madame Renee said to him that Friday night. Was he and Mark really chosen warriors to save the world? He sighed heavily as he placed his hand upon his brand new comic Lily bought him. Andrew sat up and began opening the comic. Suddenly, his phone rang. He looked at the screen and saw Mark's name.
What's up?
Andrew asked, answering the phone.
Yo, did you check your back this morning?
Mark answered, sounding frantic. Andrew was confused.
Why would I?
Check your back, dog.
Exclaimed Mark. Andrew took off his shirt and checked his back in his full-length mirror. Andrew's eyes widened when he saw the wolf tattoo clearly on his right trapezius. Andrew wanted to scream, but held it in. He quickly grabbed the phone.
I have a tattoo on my back.
Andrew said, trying not to cry.
You think the old lady did it to us?
Mark asked.
If so, did we gain any powers?
Andrew pondered on that question for a moment. Suddenly, his eyes widened.
I think my sight and hearing got heightened.
Andrew answered.
Earlier today, I helped a man find his son at Barnes and Noble's using my eyes and ears. Even Lily didn't know how I was able to find the man and his son so quickly.
For now, let's not tell our parents anything.
Mark replied.
After school, we can try and figure out what kind of powers the old lady gave us.
Andrew nodded.
Sure. Beast of the Bronx.
Andrew couldn't concentrate that Monday morning. All he wrote in his notebook for every class was today's date, 3/19/07. Andrew headed straight for the gym. The gym was rather large, but still had that old moldy look to it. Long, jagged cracks ran along the off-grey walls, and the hardwood floors had dents in them. Andrew sighed as he went downstairs to the locker room. The locker room was much worse. Leaky pipes ran along the cracked walls, and the smell of sweat and soap filled the air. Even the concrete floor had seen better days. Andrew opened his dark grey dented locker and began changing into his gym clothes. As he took off his blue collared shirt, one of Andrew's classmates stopped behind him. He examined Andrew's back. It was Josh.
That tattoo is tight, Andrew.
He said enthusiastically.
Wish I had the balls to do it.
Josh Taylor was an inch shorter than Andrew, with shaggy dark brown hair that would cover his deep dark brown eyes. His lean stature made him appear fragile. Josh wore blue shorts and a white t-shirt.
Thanks.
Replied Andrew, feeling embarrassed. Andrew continued to change. Suddenly, Mark, wearing a green t-shirt and blue shorts, came downstairs. He was about to ask Andrew something when Coach Myers appeared, blowing on his whistle several times.
"All right, ladies, it's time to do some laps,"
exclaimed Coach Myers. Andrew could hear the enthusiastic moaning of his classmates as they walked onto the field. At least outside was warm. It was a perfect day for running. Not that any of them wanted to run.
"I want you ladies to do 4 laps around the track in less than 8 minutes,"
said Coach Myers.
"Begin now."
It started off as a big blob of people running, but soon began to spread out. Mark and Andrew were in the middle, running as fast as they could. They both began to wheeze, knowing they couldn't catch up to the fast-paced runners. Even the chubby kid was slowly catching up to them. Their minds were filled with embarrassment as they soon realized they were trailing behind everyone.
If only I were faster.
Filled their thoughts as they felt like giving up. Suddenly, their legs began moving faster. Their wheezing slowly disappeared, becoming more rhythmic. Time seemed to slow down as they passed the slow runners and quickly approached the average runners. Seconds later, Mark and Andrew were ahead of the class. They passed Coach Myers. Coach Myers looked at his stopwatch and noticed that only a minute had passed. Soon, Mark and Andrew were on their 4th lap. They bent over, breathing hard as everyone finished their last lap. No one could believe how fast Mark and Andrew had become. Even Coach Myers was amazed.
"May I see you both for a moment?"
Coach Myers asked, approaching Mark and Andrew.
What's up, Coach?
Andrew asked.
"Have you two ever thought about joining the track team?"
Come on, Coach. You know that Mark and I can't run.
"Did you know that you both clocked in at 3 minutes flat?"
Their eyes widened. They couldn't believe what they were hearing.
You're joking, right?
Mark asked.
"I wish I was, but you boys should try out.
Coach Myers said.
With some practice, you boys can lead this school to nationals."
Andrew thought about the tattoo on his way home from school with Mark. They couldn't believe that their tattoos gave them the chance to run track. Still, it seemed too good to be true.
What do we do now, Drew?
Mark asked with a frantic look.
We can't reveal our powers to the world. The government will find us and experiment on us. I don't want to be experimented on.
Calm down, will you?
Andrew replied.
No one's going to experiment on us.
As they crossed the street, something in the air smelled off. Their noses twitched as they sniffed the air. They detected a faint smell of cheap cologne, and it was coming from a nearby alley. Andrew ran over there as fast as he could. Mark trailed behind him. 2 guys in suits were coming out from the same alley. Andrew and Mark slowed down as they walked past them, trying not to show any interest. From the glimpse Andrew got of them, they seemed pleased as they wiped their hands in a handkerchief from their back pockets. They left. Andrew and Mark immediately went into the alley. Even though the light grew dim, they were able to see where they were going. Their eyes turned yellow as they went further in the alley. Suddenly, Andrew saw a teenage boy, about his age, dead on the floor with a bloody streak on the alley wall behind him. His body was covered with multiple stab wounds to the chest. His eyes were rolled back and his tongue was cut off. Blood leaked from his mouth and dripped slowly onto his ice blue t-shirt. Mark saw the body next. Seconds later, he began to throw up. Andrew stared at the body with clenched fists. Angry, Andrew's fist pounded the wall as everything Madame Renee told him became clear.
Beast of the Bronx.
Friday was a boring day, especially in Mr. Smith's algebra class. The guy sounded and looked like Ben Steiner. Andrew couldn't listen to him as he talked about inverse functions. All he could hear was blah blah blah. Andrew covertly yawned as he mindlessly stared at Mr. Smith. Sometimes he wished he were in another class. The bell rang for dismissal. Andrew immediately ran out the door before everyone, leaping for joy. As he exchanged books in his locker, Mark walked up to Andrew with a grin on his face.
What are you so happy about?
Andrew asked, looking at him strangely.
I saw the girl today, dog.
He answered, shaking Andrew's shoulders.
I was walking to the bathroom when I saw her in her art class, painting a picture of a cat. I think her name is Tracy.
That's nice. Can we go now? I need to go to the store to get some milk for Mom.
As they walked down Baychester Avenue, the warm March weather kicked in. Mark and Andrew's backs were filled with sweat as their backpacks clung to them. Mark continued to talk about the Tracy girl while Andrew ignored him, watching people and cars go by. They approached a small park with a metal slide and monkey bars on the grassy field. Something was off.
Hey, you listening to me?
Asked Mark angrily. Andrew stretched his arm out, blocking Mark. Andrew wasn't familiar with this area, but he knew kids would be outside playing. Something caught his eye. He signaled Mark to look left. Mark looked and saw 4 thugs dressed in sweat clothes, bothering a small kid in the park. The kid looked like he was in elementary school. He wore black jeans, a white t-shirt, and a Sixers jersey over it. He had very short brown hair, large dark brown eyes, and a round face. It seemed those guys were after the kid's money. Mark looked at Andrew with a "don't make me do this" look. Andrew looked back at Mark, giving him the puppy dog stare. Mark knew he couldn't resist that look. He sighed, praying they would make it out alive. Quickly, Mark and Andrew ran across the street.
Hey, dog, leave the kid alone,
said Mark to the thugs. The thugs turned around simultaneously. They stared down Mark and Andrew with evil eyes. Mark gulped as he stepped back.
"Want to start something, Runt?"
the leader asked. Mark nervously showed his fists.
Let the kid go.
"Looks like we got to teach these runts a lesson or two,"
said the leader as he snapped his fingers, signaling his men to fight them. Mark and Andrew stood there with their fists ready. Mark's legs trembled as 2 guys came towards his right. He dodged, rolling onto the ground. He felt a hand grab his shoulder as he was hoisted up. A blow came to his stomach. Mark fell to his knees and began coughing up blood. Andrew rushed over to help, but felt a blow to the cheek, knocking him sideways. He regained his balance. Andrew spat into the ground. His green eyes burned with determination as he stared at them. He charged towards the thugs. He swung wildly, trying to connect to one of their bodies. Mark watched in horror as Andrew was being tossed around like a beach ball. Andrew collapsed, battered and bruised. His body twitched and ached with pain. The thugs surrounded him. Their evil grins were all he could see as they cracked their knuckles. Their leader grinned with glee as both Mark and Andrew were going to meet their demise.
Can't let it end like this. Damn, if only I was stronger.
Mark thought, trying to summon the strength to move. He slowly rose to his feet, clenching his stomach. Suddenly his back began to burn, with the imprint of his animal spirit glowing brightly. The thugs stopped and quickly looked at Mark. Mark vanished from their sights. With unprecedented speed, Mark charged at the thugs, knocking them down one by one. Blows to their face, chest and stomach came at all angles. One felt a powerful blow to his chin, knocking him backwards. Andrew watched in amazement as Mark's jabs and kicks connected fluently. The ground rumbled as each thug's face met the hot cracked concrete. The leader's eyes widened as his men were on the ground moaning and groaning in pain.
What the?
The leader managed to say.
Let the kid go or I might pound your face into the ground,
Mark said, cracking his knuckles. Without hesitation, the leader handed the kid over to Mark. The leader helped up his comrades and quickly ran off. Mark walked over to Andrew and helped him up. He could see the huge gash on Andrew's forehead and left cheek.
I never thought I would actually beat them,
said Mark sarcastically.
Forget that. Your mom's gonna flip when she sees you.
Shut up.
Andrew replied angrily. He wobbled as he got up. Mark stood by him, giving him support. Andrew clenched his right arm as he slowly approached the kid.
You right, kid?
He asked, looking at the boy. The kid nodded.
Thanks for your help. Next time, don't swing so wildly. You'll leave too many openings.
Andrew's heart sank. A mere kid was giving him fighting advice after he risked himself to save him. He hung his head low and kept his eyes on the ground. Mark smiled as he told the kid to hurry home. The kid smiled and waved goodbye. They watched as the kid left the park, heading down Baychester Avenue.
Cheer up, Drew,
said Mark, patting Andrew's back.
You did your best.
Easy for you to say,
replied Andrew grumpily.
You're the one who sent those thugs running, and you were able to harness your powers. I still can't do that.
Hey, I don't know how I did it. All I know, I just wanted to save you and the kid, and the next thing I knew, I was Bruce Lee on speed. Kinda felt cool.
Andrew limped away, giving him the cold shoulder. Mark ran after Andrew and apologized. Andrew was reluctant but soon forgave him. As an apology, Mark bought the milk and bandages. They walked out of the store, heading for home. The sun began to hide behind the apartment buildings. Andrew looked up at the sky as the red mixed in with the blue, and a few stars twinkled brightly. With each passing minute, the blue slowly engulfed the red, and the moon's face began to poke out. Andrew smiled, for it was the most beautiful paintings God could have ever created. What a way to end the day. Well, it looks like Andrew and Mark are starting to discover their newfound powers. What else will they discover? Find out next time on Beast of the Bronx.
Yeah. Would it be cool to say? Yeah, intuition, just wanna follow intuition. All my senses tell me I know what you've been thinking. I've been feeling, what if we got up, left this party? Cause I can see you're probably gonna be scrolling feeds all night long. And your friends are drunk, and the DJ keeps playing the same songs, and time isn't moving along.